what you've got is the idea that connect to AI and you'll become superhuman intelligent. No, you'll become subhuman intelligent. You'll become a vehicle for artificial intelligence. And whoever controls artificial intelligence will control the perceptions of every mind that it's connected to. If you're going to make a physical connection with AI, you're not going to do that on a mass scale until you've made a psychological connection. And there is a process, a psychological process, which is known as preemptive programming. Preemptive programming is this. You're going to usher in a world that is so different, so dramatically different to what anyone's been used to, that you're going to have an obvious resistance purely by the chasm of difference between the world people are used to and the world you're taking them into. A resistance that says, hold on a minute, you want to do what? What? So you prepare them for it through preemptive programming. You put out a stream of movies out of elite-controlled Hollywood. You put out television programs, you put out books, you put out all these things that basically portray the world you want to take people into. This is why you've seen so many movies about control by robots, control by technology, of synthetic humans. You have the dystopian society being portrayed and portrayed and portrayed. And what that's doing, it's making the subconscious, to an extent the conscious mind, familiar with the world you want to usher in. So when you literally start to bring it in, there's not that chasm that there would have been before. There is almost a familiarity with it because you prepared people by portraying it over and over again in movies.
You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pits of one's fears and the summit of one's knowledge. You are now traveling through a dimension of imagination. You just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor. At my signal, unleash hell.
Artificial intelligence has the capability of making life easier for every human being on the planet. Today, we use AI on almost every device we own.
Hey Google, who is Jesus Christ?
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that yet.
From our phones to our television sets and even our smart appliances like this Samsung refrigerator. But many scientists and concerned citizens fear that we may soon be facing the consequences of relying on technology so much. They not only warn us that AI may become conscious and more intelligent than humans with the goal to control humanity, or maybe even worse, put a complete end to human existence, they also warn us that the network known as 5G will allow AI to work at extremely fast speeds and will be detrimental to our overall health, possibly killing millions, if not billions, of people. Many fear that Google and other tech companies in Silicon Valley wish to use AI to control the whole world, and there is plenty of evidence that support these claims. By the year 2050, we may be totally mentally enslaved by Google or AI as we approach the point in time known as singularity. Ray Kurzweil, an American inventor and futurist who happens to be a Google exec, believes that a technological singularity will happen before the year 2045, which will result in unfathomable changes to human civilization. Today, on Mysteries of the Universe, we're going to discover the real truth about artificial intelligence and explore the possibilities of living in a world controlled by tech giants like Google as we step into a brave new world. My name is Devin Worlds, and this is Singularity.
we have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works.
And as a result, we see that influencing the level of depth that we're able to think at. We see that influencing our politics.
There was a time in human history when dog was man's best friend. We would go on walks with our dogs, play fetch with the frisbee with our dogs, go hunting with our dogs, and even go on adventures with our dogs. You may still do these things with your animal friend, but most Americans, especially Generation Z, have traded time with their lovable pet for more time with their smart devices. To say that people have their heads in the sand would be a huge understatement for how people are constantly ignoring the enormous elephant in the room. We don't have to wait for artificial intelligence to take over the world, because it already has. A technological revolution is happening as we speak, and everyone on Earth should be extremely concerned for the future. As we step forward into a brave new world, there will be no turning back, and not one person will be able to say that they were not warned.
I think we all knew in the back of our minds, even though we feigned this whole line of like, there probably aren't any really bad unintended consequences. I think in the back, deep recesses of our minds, we kind of knew something bad could happen. But I think the way we defined it was not like this.
In late 2017, a man by the name of Chamath Palihapitiya revealed to the world that he felt tremendous guilt for the part he played in creating the biggest social network on the internet, Facebook. Palihapitiya warned an audience at Stanford Graduate School of Business to take a hard break from social media. I think we have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works, he explained. Palihapitiya's speech at Stanford may one day be seen as one of the last real dire warnings that the world will receive before the hostile AI takeover begun. Chamath Palihapitiya's speech was not only geared towards Facebook, he was referring to the online ecosystem as a whole. He goes on to say that you don't realize it, but you're being programmed. It was unintentional, but now you gotta decide how much you're willing to give up, how much of your intellectual independence. When you really begin to ponder about the things that Chamath Palihapitiya said in his speech, every single one of his powerful statements should strike a bit of fear in the hearts and minds of every person on the planet. Palihapitiya makes it very clear that it's not an American problem, it's not about Russian ads, this is a global problem.
Where I have decided to spend my time is to take the capital that they rewarded me with and now focus on the structural changes that I can control. I can't control that. I can control my decisions, which is I don't use this shit. I can control my kids' decisions, which is they're not allowed to use this shit. And then I can go focus on diabetes and education and climate change. And that's what I can do. But everybody else has to soul search a little bit more about what you're willing to do, because your behaviors, you don't realize it, but you are being programmed. It was unintentional, but now you got to decide how much you're willing to give up, how much of your intellectual independence. And don't think, oh yeah, not me, I'm fucking genius, I'm at Stanford. You're probably the most likely to fucking fall for it. Because you were fucking checkboxing your whole goddamn life. No offense, guys.
None taken.
If you take a step back and look at the world that we have created for ourselves, you will begin to notice that we have already given up much of our intellectual independence to technology. Reading from a physical book is becoming old-fashioned. Why read when you can just listen to an audiobook or watch a movie? In the world of emojis, there is almost no need to learn how to spell. If there is no emoji for what you want to say, then you can simply speak what you're trying to say. Not to mention, every device has some form of autocorrect. When most people around the world wake up in the morning, the first thing they do is grab their smart devices. When we need directions to our destination, we depend on our navigational systems instead of reading a physical map. And soon, we won't even have to drive because our vehicles will do the driving for us. Technology simply makes every bit of our lives easier, but easy is not always a good thing. Right now, we are totally crippling ourselves as well as future generations to come. Technology keeps getting smarter as we keep getting dumber.
The idea was, could we make it one click really easy for people to be able to share little bits of positivity and affirmation in the world?
And when did you first come to realize that there were
I don't know if you want to describe them as problems, complications.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see how it's played out as this kind of double-edged sword. I think it's very dangerous right now to have a business model in which the way that these companies make money is by selling people's attention to advertisers. So regardless of whether they have good or bad intentions, the financial incentives just lean you more and more toward trying to get people to stare at their phones. And as a result, we see that influencing the level of depth that we're able to think at. We see that influencing our politics.
Several recent studies completed by psychiatrists, neuroscientists, marketers, and public health experts confirm that smartphones are causing real damage to our relationships, but most importantly, our minds. A man by the name of Justin Rosenstein told The Guardian in 2017 that he had taken several steps to eliminate social media distractions in his life, including limiting his time on Facebook and banning himself from Snapchat. It is very common for humans to develop things with the best of intentions and for them to have unintended negative consequences. Cited from The Verge, Rosenstein goes on to tell The Guardian that there's research that says it takes 23 minutes to get into a state of flow where you're actually doing deep thinking on something. Justin Rosenstein went on to tell The Guardian that it's very rare to get 23 minutes of uninterrupted time, which means no one is in flow. Everyone is just skittering along the surface, and I think that's freaking tragic. These are our lives. These are our precious, finite, mortal little lives. The ideal that we're spending them distracted, not accomplishing the thing that we're trying to do, is just painful. It's crazy. If you're wondering who Justin Rosenstein is and why his words should mean anything, then wonder no more. Justin Rosenstein is the inventor of the like button. With such an incredible and powerful statements coming from individuals like Chamath Palihapitiya and Justin Rosenstein, we should start to seriously ask ourselves one important question. Are we controlling technology, or is technology controlling us? No drug addict or alcoholic likes to admit how serious their addiction to that substance or drink really is. Technology is a terrible drug, and unfortunately, most of the world is addicted to it, including myself.
The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works.
When it comes to substance abuse, the addict is normally controlled by the supplier or drug dealer. When it comes to the internet and technology, most of the suppliers that are now controlling the whole world come from a place called Silicon Valley. These tech dealers know that we are addicts. They know that we are tech and internet junkies looking for our next heart, our next like, our next hit. They also know that because of our addiction, they have the power to fully control the minds of everyone on Earth. So who is the plug? Technically speaking, major tech giants like Facebook, Twitter, Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple all play a major role in the distribution of addicting technology. But the company that we should be worried about the most is none other than Google. The power that this company has is incredibly scary. Google has the power to control what information you're allowed to see and the power to cover up what they don't want you to see. Google has the power to Thanos snap anyone or anything off of the World Wide Web. Just as many drug addicts come to know and trust their drug dealer, the world has come to know and trust Google. A druggie always wants top quality product, and as paying consumers, we expect the World Wide Web to always be at its best. We expect to log on to a fair and open internet. We expect to be given correct information from our Google searches, not curated Google bias information. We expect our news and public opinions on important topics to be more than one-sided. We don't wish to be programmed by the mainstream narrative alone. We also don't want history to be censored and one-sided. Unfortunately, Google has done all of these things previously mentioned. They curated our news. They are now only promoting information that aligns with the ideology of the Democrats. They are censoring and removing our history. They are manipulating search results. They even traded their YouTube content creators for mainstream media or whoever they deem to be an authoritative source of information. They have shadow banned thousands of channels. They have continuously lied to its users over and over again. Alphabet, Google, and YouTube can no longer be trusted. These companies are the biggest threat to our country, our freedom of speech, and our minds. The immoral practices that Google has participated in, some would consider to be borderline treasonous.
We know that engagement with social media and our cell phones releases a chemical called dopamine. That's why when you get a text, it feels good, right? So, we've all had it where you're feeling a little bit down or feeling a bit lonely, and so you send out 10 texts to 10 friends, hi, 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 because it feels good when you get a response, right? Right? It's why we count the likes. It's why we go back 10 times to see if my Instagram is growing slower, did I do something wrong? Do they not like me anymore, right? The trauma for young kids to be unfriended, right? Because we know when you get a hit of dopamine, which feels good. It's why we like it. It's why we keep going back to it. Dopamine is the exact same chemical that makes us feel good when we smoke, when we drink, and when we gamble.
Here's a thought that's a bit wild, I guess, but still. What if tech giant bosses are secretly dreaming they were in charge of mafia clans back in the days when anyone who crossed the family would face an inevitable vendetta? Lately, quite a few people who spent years working for big tech companies have been stepping forward to spill the beans, like this senior Google engineer.
I look at search and I look at Google News and I see what it's doing. And I see Google executives go to Congress and say that it's not manipulated, it's not political, and I'm just so sure that's not true. I have a PhD, I have 5 years experience at Google, and I just know how algorithms are. They don't write themselves.
You'd probably get really annoyed by that kind of whistleblowing if you were the management, even though you've already denied any manipulation. Let's hope there's no real blood vendetta.
You know, in George Orwell's famous book, 1984, the way Big Brother controlled its power, the way the state controlled its power, is it controlled information. So we're at war with Eurasia. We've always been at war with Eurasia. And if that changes, the information simply disappears. We see in the big tech media companies that same exact power. A couple of months ago, I chaired a hearing with Facebook and Twitter and the censorship that they're engaged in online, the political bias. Today, I'm chairing a hearing with Google. Google is a monopoly. Google may well be the most powerful company on the face of the planet because they have a monopoly on information, on what you know and what I know. And not only that, but Google owns YouTube, which is the second most popular website on the face of the planet. And the problem is they use these monopoly powers to silence voices they don't like.
A Google whistleblower has come forward to describe his company's plans to remake the American political landscape. Google, of course, is the most powerful company in the world. So when an anonymous whistleblower comes forward, in this case telling Project Veritas that Google is using internal algorithms to shape what Americans see online, and by extension what they think, you better take it seriously.
Fairness is a dog whistle. It does not mean what you think that it means, and you have to apply doublethink in order to understand what they're really saying. And what they're really saying about fairness is that they have to manipulate their search results so that it gives them their political agenda that they want. And so they have to rebias their algorithms so that they can get their agenda across.
The number one financial supporter of the Hillary Clinton campaign in the 2016 election was the parent company of Google, Alphabet, who was our first witness. They were her number one financial donor, and your testimony is, through their deceptive search methods, they moved 2.6 million votes in her direction. I would think anybody, whether or not you favor one candidate or another, should be deeply dismayed about a handful of Silicon Valley billionaires having that much power over our elections to silently and deceptively shift vote outcomes.
Again, with respect, I must correct you. The 2.6 million is a rock bottom minimum. The range is between 2.6 and 10.4 million, depending on how aggressively they used the techniques that I've been studying now for 6.5 years.
I certainly find the selection deeply offensive, and I know many of you do too.
It did feel like a ton of bricks dropped on my chest. What we all need right now is a hug. Can I move to Canada?
Is there anything positive you see from this election result?
Boy, that's a really tough one right now.
The big celebration was supposed to occur in New York City. Somebody had been working on the campaign. And I just sent him a note and said, are you okay? It looks like it's going the wrong way. And I got back a very sad, short text that read, people are leaving, staff is crying, we're going to lose. That was the first moment I really felt like we were going to lose. And it was this massive, kick in the gut that we were going to lose. And it was really painful.
Many YouTube content creators knew about Google's unfair practices and have been calling out the company for its hypocrisy since 2016. When President Donald Trump won the 2016 presidential election, the people at Google lost their minds. Many of them were extremely devastated, to say the least, that Hillary Clinton somehow lost the election. A leaked video from 2016 shows Google's co-founder Sergey Brin saying that the election was deeply offensive. Ruth Porat, the chief financial officer of Alphabet Inc., also expressed how upset she truly was that Donald Trump won the election. Shortly after Hillary Clinton lost the election, content creators experienced the first ad apocalypse on the YouTube platform. Coincidence? I think not. The good people at Google were upset and they wanted revenge. They never wanted to lose another election to the Republican Party again. What was their solution? Censorship. Since the 2016 elections, Google and YouTube has drastically changed. Google is now censoring search results as well as burying sites and YouTube videos that they don't consider to be authoritative content. When it comes down to it, nobody outside of the mainstream is considered authoritative content. And if you ask me, it appears that Google and mainstream media corporations such as CNN and MSNBC are in bed with one another. It really seems as if both Google and mainstream media are constantly searching for reasons to silence the public. You have to truly wonder if Google is currently conditioning us for something more sinister, something no company in the history of the world has ever attempted: world domination. As crazy as it might sound, this is no baseless conspiracy theory.
Training data are collected and classified, algorithms are programmed, media are filtered, ranked, aggregated, and guaranteed, and that ends with people, parentheses, like us, are programmed. Does Google view its job as programming people with search results?
Thank you, Senator. I can't speak for the whole entire company, but I can tell you that we make sure that we put our users first in our design.
In late June of 2019, Project Veritas released a shocking report about Google, which included an undercover video of a senior Google executive, a testimony from a Google insider, as well as leaked documents. If there was ever a doubt that Google was intentionally censoring its users, then this special report from Project Veritas should have cleared up any confusion. Jen Ganai, head of responsible innovation at Google, was caught on film basically admitting that Google plans to affect the outcome of the 2020 elections and prevent the next Trump situation. Speaking to an undercover Project Veritas reporter, Jen Ganai said, "Elizabeth Warren is saying we should break up Google. And I love her, but she's very misguided. That will not make it better. It would make it worse. Because all these smaller companies who don't have the same resources that we do will be charged with preventing the next Trump situation. It's like a small company cannot do that." Jen Ganai said some pretty disturbing things in this undercover footage. Ganai talks about how Google is training their algorithms to see if they can affect the outcome of a presidential election if 2016 was to happen again. Jen Ganai also said, "The reason we launch our AI principles is because people are not putting that line in the sand, that they were not saying what's fair and what's equitable, so we're like, well, we're a big company, we're going to say it." A secret Google insider not only added context to the statements made by Jen Ganai, but a Google informant leaked documents that elaborate on machine learning fairness and the algorithmic unfairness that AI product intervention aims to solve.
Do you think it's Google's job to, quote, prevent the next Trump situation?
Thank you, Senator. I don't agree with that. No, sir.
The public records show that in 2016, Google employees gave to the Hillary Clinton campaign $1.315 million. That's a lot of money.
Care to venture how much they gave to the Trump campaign?
I would have no idea, sir.
Well, the nice thing is it's a round number, $0.00.
So this is a historic day. Never before have so many online journalists, influencers come together in this building to discuss the future of social media. Each of you is fulfilling a vital role in our nation. You're challenging the media gatekeepers and the corporate censors to bring the facts straight to the American people. Together you reach more people than any television broadcast network by far. Free speech is a bedrock of American life. Our constitutional rights must be fiercely protected. And today I'm directing my administration to explore all regulatory and legislative solutions to protect free speech and the free speech rights of all Americans. We hope to see transparency, more accountability, and more freedom.
When Project Veritas interviewed the Google insider, he explained the impact of artificial intelligence and machine learning fairness. They're going to redefine a reality based on what they think is fair and based on what they want and what is part of their agenda. The insider goes on to explain how YouTube demotes content from influencers like Dave Rubin and Tim Pool. What YouTube did is they changed the results of the recommendation engine. And so what the recommendation engine it tries to say, well, if you like A, then you're probably going to like B. So content that is similar to Dave Rubin or Tim Pool, instead of listing Dave Rubin or Tim Pool as people that you might like, what they're doing is that they're trying to suggest different news outlets. For example, like CNN or MSNBC are these left-leaning political outlets. When it comes to this eerie report presented by Project Veritas, it gives us only but a glimpse into the reality of how much power and control these tech companies have in Silicon Valley. For content creators, this was nothing more than confirmation of something that they already knew. Most content creators on YouTube, big and small, agree that this isn't just an attack on conservative viewpoints, but this is an attack on free speech online, no matter what your political viewpoints are. I can't help but to wonder if Donald Trump is only the excuse to eliminate free speech online. You know, the Trump card. Could Google, along with other tech companies, be silencing the voices of everyday people for a more darker and sinister reason? Perhaps they know the world we will soon be stepping into will be so vastly different from anything ever seen or done that they want to stop the resistance before it even begins.
The outcome is that they want to connect the human brain to artificial intelligence, so artificial intelligence becomes human consciousness.
All roads lead to hell here, David.
They do, but if you think they lead to heaven, you're gonna take that road.
In the near future, we will be stepping into a world that we cannot turn back from. Artificial intelligence will rule the planet. Everyone on the earth will be locked inside a digital grid that no one can escape from. Currency will be digital, and most people living at the time will be permanently merged with machine. This transhumanist future is already being called the next evolution of humankind. Predictive programming is being used in all forms of media in an effort to desensitize our children into accepting this reality. Many theorists around the world believe that this is the reason why we see so many movies and television shows that are about superheroes or artificial intelligence, and in some cases we see both being used at the same time.
It breaks my heart to see children when they're wearing this Batman, Superman stuff. You're putting the clothes of the Antichrist on your kid. Do you know what spirit you're just putting on your child? Brother and sister in Christ, please pray for spiritual discernment. Superman is the Antichrist. You want your kid idolizing the Antichrist? Do you know what kind of seeds you're planting for the future? That is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Because you see, at a point in the rise of the Antichrist will come a transhumanist change in humanity. He's going to offer them an ability to become superhuman. And if all you've done is program them since they were kids that they desire these superhuman abilities, they're going to follow the Antichrist and take the modification and become the satanically altered superhuman race of the Antichrist kingdom.
We live in a time when we find ourselves at a crossroads. We can continue to allow this tech revolution to evolve, or we can fight against it now before it's too late. Because our children are growing up in a world that they never known without technology, it's going to be extremely hard for them to resist or even understand the dangers of allowing technology to consume the planet. We're not just talking about a world where AI is simply coexisting with humanity. We may be possibly heading into a world where humanity is fully enslaved by technology and its creators.
Now, just to give you an idea of what this transhumanism is, it's basically the idea that man can exceed the limitations that God has put upon him. Okay, God has created human beings with certain limitations. We're not all-knowing, we're not all-powerful, we're not all-present like God is. We have human limitations, and this idea of transhumanism is to use science and technology to exceed those limitations. And especially when people talk about transhumanism, they often refer to the ability of human beings to live on beyond a normal lifespan, even to live forever. Not eternal life through Jesus, spiritually, but rather physically, to make our bodies be able to live forever, reverse the aging process, or use technology or what have you.
The Simpsons is a show that has an amazing track record of predicting future major world events. The Simpsons have predicted everything from autocorrect to smartwatches, and even that Donald Trump will become the president of the United States of America. These few examples don't even begin to scratch the surface of the incredible things this show has predicted. Many people joke that the writers of The Simpsons have a time machine, but theorists believe that Matt Groening's, the creator of The Simpsons' personal connection to the Freemasons, is the reason why the show is so accurate at predicting major future world events. As silly as it may sound, this show may have already shown us the future of humanity if we're not careful. In episode 9 of the 23rd season of The Simpsons, titled Holidays of Future Past, Lisa Simpson plugs herself into what is called the Alternet. The Alternet is a system that is a clear descendant of the contemporary internet, sort of like a matrix. It was developed sometime before 2041. This system allows people to plug in, meaning they have a jack inserted on their neck in order to enter. At this time, the user's body is unconscious for the moment. In the Alternet of the future, Lisa accesses Google through a Google door. Noticing a Dr. Seuss Google Doodle over the Google door, Lisa acknowledges the fact that it's Dr. Seuss's birthday. After entering the Google door before Lisa accesses Google itself, she goes on to say that, Google, even though you've enslaved half the world, you're still a damn fine search engine.
Now where is the Google door? Ah, right. It's Dr. Seuss's birthday. Google, even though you've enslaved half the world, you're still a damn fine search engine.
The future of this planet looks like something straight out of a sci-fi film. With the Internet of Things and 5G, it seems as if there isn't anything we won't be able to technologically achieve. We're already being plagued with a new form of AI called deepfakes, which can change real-world environments in real time, along with the appearance of a person and their voice. The consequences of allowing tech to freely evolve without implementing measures of security to protect people from harm will result in a tragic fate for humankind. Scientists are already actively warning against the dangers of 5G and the Internet of Things, while tech companies in Silicon Valley continue to ignore the ramifications of their actions. The more we accept technology and AI into our lives, the more powerful these companies grow.
Here's the problem. Scientists all over the world are now saying it's maybe not that great. They say we may be moving too fast, and if we're not careful, they go on to say, AI, artificial intelligence, could kill us. RT's Rachel Blevins is joining us now with more on what she has found out. Those are strong words for scientists to say can kill us.
Absolutely, and it is a very powerful tool when you look at this software that is essentially writing itself and then writing its own updates, and it's doing so at a speed that we can't keep up with. So we're looking at this software that maybe there's an artificial intelligence program that works now, but then all of a sudden it keeps updating itself, it keeps learning from itself, and it's going into a direction that these people didn't essentially intend for it to go when they first created it.
While most of humanity envisions a world where technology is used for the greater good, we shouldn't be so naive to believe that companies like Google don't envision a future where they are more powerful than any government on the planet. It is our job to ensure that these tech companies remain ethical, fair, and righteous. The moment these companies begin to impose on our God-given human rights is the moment we're giving these companies too much power and control. Some would argue, including myself, that the moment I'm speaking of is now.
Well, you can't turn on your TV these days without seeing a commercial about the wonders our future holds because of artificial intelligence.
Innovation. It's not just a word, it's an action. With artificial intelligence, we are not crawling or walking or running, we are flying. Today, Microsoft AI helps an architect bring history back to life. He doesn't see data, he sees fragments of our past. This is now.
Sounds great, doesn't it? Wow, who's not going to believe that after seeing that commercial?
Transitioning from a world of wearable technology into a world emerging with technology will be met with an obvious resistance. It is my personal belief that many organizations, including the governments of the world, are preparing for this resistance and have been for many years now. We are already being sold the lie that AI will save the planet. Many high-level inventors and futurists such as Ray Kurzweil believe that a technological singularity will happen before the year 2045. A technological singularity is a hypothetical future point in time at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting in unfathomable changes to human civilization. The scary thing about this is the fact that people like Ray Kurzweil, who happens to work for Google, isn't running from singularity, but instead they are running towards it while dragging the rest of the world behind them. They want a world ruled by technology. They want a world where people can live forever via a digital world such as the Ultranet shown in The Simpsons, or by becoming transhuman, which is a human who has merged themselves with AI. We should be very worried about the future of our planet, not because of global warming or natural disasters, not because gun violence in America is getting out of control. We should be worried because within the next 20 years, we can be living in a technological nightmare. Merging with technology will be the biggest mistake humanity will ever make. With only a microchip implant, a person, a government, an evil corporation, or AI itself could literally control your mind. My suggestion, if you don't believe in God, you better start believing, because at this point, only the Most High can stop what is about to come.
But these are the type of things that they just get excited about. They salivate over this. Oh, this is so amazing, you know, these discoveries. Because, you know, this is what they're into. It's transhumanism. All right, I got to get out the Dr. Spergel glasses for this. It's so amazing because we're going to reach a whole new stage of evolution. For billions of years, you know, we've been evolving at a slow rate, but now we're going to rapidly, you know, go into this new phase. And they even talk about how, like, you know, we might even be left behind. You know, the transhumans are going to take over. You know, and every science fiction where they create like an artificially intelligent machine, it always takes over and kills everybody. You know what I mean? It's like, well, what do we need you for? You know what I mean? And it takes over, you know. But oh, even if we all die, it's still so cool because, I mean, it's the next step of evolution. I just hope it happens in my lifetime so I can see it. You know, that's the way these people talk. They're serious.
They show us iRobot just to make sure we don't get any ideas. What do you think about the way robots are portrayed in movies?
I like robots.
Thousands already have microchip implants that they use in their daily lives, waving their hand to gain entrance to the gym, confirm their ID, or make payments. A short moment of pain not putting them off becoming part Swede, part machine.
Virtual reality will advance. So, I mean, one possibility will be you just give up your body and upload yourself into a computer. You could just live in various virtual reality video game type worlds, right? And
For
then
eternity.
Yeah, exactly. It could be whatever game you want, right? So that
sounds almost like
so
senseless.
that's one option.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time, even if they would never say those things. So, for instance, they could have me say things like, I don't know, Killmonger was right, or Ben Carson is in the sunken place, or, how about this, simply, President Trump is a total and complete dipshit. Now, you see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele.
This is transhumanism. It's another thing that Stephen Hawking warned about and was misunderstood by the end of his life, where he said there won't be any Homo sapiens left by 2050. What he was talking about is humans as we know it will be over because we will be so augmented with technology that you won't be able to survive if you're just a natural human.
There's a new fleet of crime-fighting robots that look a bit like R2-D2. These robots are being made in the heart of Silicon Valley next to NASA's Ames Research Center. Knightscope, the company behind the robots, plans to rent them out for less than minimum wage.
You scare the shit out of me when you talk about AI. Between you and Sam Harris. I didn't even consider it until I had a podcast with Sam once.
That's
and
great.
He made me shit my pants. Talking about AI, I realized, like, oh, well, this is a genie that once it's out of the bottle, you're never getting it back in.
That's true.
The Skynet funding bill is passed. The system goes online on August 4th, 1997. It becomes self-aware at 2:14 a.m. Eastern Time.
Remember Skynet? That artificial intelligence system from the Terminator series? You know, it gets too powerful and tries to wipe out the human race. Sounds far-fetched? Well, Skynet may not be as far-fetched as we think.
Google processes 1 billion web searches every day. Here's a few of the things Google wants to own: your phone, your email, your computer, and your entire digital life. Building an empire on your street, on your phone, in your DNA.
It seems the startup stage for Nest Labs is over because Google has bought the company for $3.2 billion.
They want you to categorize your day: when I wake up, when I leave for work, when I get home from work, when I go to bed.
Am I alone and feeling a little uncomfortable about this?
1, 2, 3.
Balloons communicate with specialized internet antennas on the ground. We're using all of these things to build this network in the sky.
For several years, Google has made driverless technology. One analyst estimates that by 2035, there will be close to 12 million self-driving cars on the road.
What exactly is Google X?
It would be tempting to call Google X Google's research lab, where the smartest computer scientists are looking at the next generation of Google products.
You also make a reference, it's kind of like the Manhattan Project, where they developed the first atomic bomb. It also sounds like it could be a little scary.
Google and NASA have teamed up to share one of the world's first commercial quantum computers, therefore bringing about a quantum leap in terms of power.
Let's get to the Google robot. Let's start with what would be the brain of the robot, and that is DeepMind.
DeepMind can be described as a world-class, groundbreaking technology to build powerful and general-purpose learning algorithms.
So critical thinking.
Exactly, critical thinking.
Google Incorporated said that it is acquiring satellite company Skybox Imaging for $500 million in cash.
And here's a sample of what Google's going to get. The company takes high-res images and video of a given area.
What do you guys think about Google owning the skies and the ground?
Why is Google gobbling up robotics companies? The search engine giant has just acquired a company that designs robots for the U.S. Department of Defense.
A technological singularity seems to be coming in the near future, and tech giants like Google may indeed be planning to use artificial intelligence to enslave all of humanity. But what are your thoughts though? Sound off in the comment section and let me know. And because there will be no Up TV without viewers like you, I would like to give a special shout out to anyone who has recently donated or supported the channel in any type of way. Your support literally buys this channel more time, so thank you. It truly means more than you know. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also hit that bell so you get notified anytime I upload a new video. My name is Devin Worlds, and this is Singularity.
The senior leadership at Google, does it lean left or does it lean right?
Senator, senior leadership, that the whole team consists of people from a variety of different perspectives, from outside of the United States, from Americans.
Mr. Baccia, you're doing something rather remarkable, which is you're managing to be less candid than Mark Zuckerberg. Mr. Zuckerberg, when he testified before this committee, admitted Silicon Valley is overwhelmingly liberal, and anyone operating in the realm of simple reality would acknowledge that.
Thank you for watching Up TV. If you like this video and would love to see more, check out these great videos here, and don't forget to subscribe to Up TV and Up TV 2 for even more great videos.